Mm-hmm.
It should be coming up shortly.
Yeah, it says it's streaming now.
Let's see if we are live.
David, how have you kept all that hair?
Jeez. No, it's
all right. Let's see here. Meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. We should be live.
All right.
Can any of you guys see that we are yet? It usually takes a little while, and there's a little bit of lagging. Yeah. I have learned. But yeah, I think we should be live. Absolutely. Cool. So welcome again to this book release. And I am so thrilled to have these guys here on this show, because I guess that's what we call it, right? And you're going to get to meet three guys who has been very important in Brian's life. So what am I talking about again? The book is Reflections, a story of hope, healing, and facing fears and finding purpose. And it's a book that Brian wrote during his last 7 months when he got ill the second time around. So what I wanted to share today, because it is so important is life. We don't want to celebrate somebody's death. We want to celebrate life. So these guys that we have here, they are all from different eras, I would say, in Brian's life. We had David Albert, who is one of his oldest, closest friends. There he is. And we have Steve Sorrow, that we all met while living in New York. And then when we moved to Sweden, obviously Andreas Aleman, who has been such a big friend here in Sweden, and great song collaborator. So what I wanted to do, thank you for coming, and thank you for being here. I wanted to start actually just with a simple question, and I think I'm going to start with David. Do you have any sort of fun memory to share with about Brian?
Yeah. Now we said earlier this is a family show, right? So we'll try to remember that. But you know, Brian and I met Brian when we were in the 7th grade beginning band. We were both trombone players. He actually went on to become a really fine trombone player. Not a lot of people know that. But our musical connection, not just with the band, came, he really wanted to be like a rock and roll bass player. That was his goal, was, Earth, Wind and Fire, Chicago, Paul McCartney, those types of bass playing guys. But when we were in band in high school, we'll kind of fast forward, we played this Gershwin piece. It was kind of a Gershwin collection of Gershwin hits, for a concert band. And Brian just flipped over this style of music, to the point where here was an odd thing. We would go to parties, and everybody back then would bring your album, your favorite album. So, somebody was bringing Earth, Wind and Fire or Chicago 5 or whatever. And Brian shows up with Porgy and Bess, or, Rhapsody in Blue, American in Paris, and wants to put that on the turntable, so he was not the life of the party at that point. And then as we started to get together musically in a group, Brian started playing piano and took piano lessons, and he finally was fairly proficient, on the piano. But we had this little jazz band, and so we invited Brian to be a part of it. But he couldn't play the melodies of other people's songs. He just didn't know them. He only knew the stuff that he was writing, his own music. So we really had to form the whole band around Brian's music, because he just couldn't play like Take the A Train or Satin Doll or any of these other standard tunes. So we did a concert of what was called a concert of American popular songs. And we almost sold out this 1,000-seat auditorium, and they were all Brian Hobbs tunes. No no American popular. They were American, but they were not even heard of yet. So nobody asked for their money back. So we escaped some sort of stuff like that. But I also remember kind of a funny thing that happened when he was, this is after our Berkeley days. He was auditioning to go to, I'll leave the name off of the university, but he was going to go, he wanted to be a composition major at this rather well-known music college and also regular college here in our state. And he had his major instrument was going to be piano, but his degree was going to be composition. So he had to play a Bach piece, a romantic piece, and then he could choose another piece, could be contemporary. And so he did the Bach piece and he did the romantic piece, and they weren't really very cool about that. They felt like his piano proficiency wasn't up to par, but they loved the contemporary piece, which Brian said was a piece by Harold Arlen. Well, actually Brian had written the piece himself and put somebody else's name on it. And that was the piece that they said, now that is a great interpretation of Harold Arlen's music. Probably one of the best we've ever heard. And he just made it up. It was just his own kind of a thing. And, we those are probably some of the family-friendly stories that I can share with you. But I think about him every day. And Fia, I'm very glad to be here, and thank you for letting me be a part of this. And thank you for finishing that book. I've read it. I recommend anybody to read that book, whether they're going through, end of life situation with a terminal disease, or whether they just want to read a great book about a great person and you and Brian and how you went through this. So thanks for doing this. And,
thank you. Well, you guys, you made an album.
Yes,
Big Band,
yes,
right?
We
you
did.
Want to talk about that?
And that album called Love Remembered, actually, I was just speaking about it the other day, is I've seen, because of the pandemic, I've seen where people are getting together across the pond, so to speak, and doing albums or doing a recording one person at a time, collaborating. And that's how we made that record in 2012. And it was half of that record was music that he wrote when he was in high school. Again, you won't find anybody else's music on that record. it's an album of all Brian Hobbs, because that's what he played best.
I see like a theme here.
Yeah, he's I think it's kind of interesting. A lot of people don't have that as part of their background. They play other people's music and then they start writing their own. And I think Brian he started writing his own right off the bat.
Yeah.
Before he ever learned other people's music. And
and he kept doing it.
Yeah, and I have reel-to-reel tapes of some of our early attempts, and I told him I'd hold him and hold it against him if he ever made me mad. I would. But,
too late now.
During our friendship, which lasted from the 7th grade until he passed, we never had a difficult time. We never had a time when we didn't see eye to eye, or it was a great friendship. It was absolutely a wonderful human being, and really proud to have known him.
Cool. Love those stories. Putting his name or putting somebody else's name on that piece. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And then get accepted.
And got away with it.
Got away with it. Yeah. Brian doesn't play other people's music. He only plays himself.
Not very well.
Not very well. Oh, that is so funny. When you told me that the first time, I laughed so hard because he hadn't told me that one. That was a new one for me.
No, that's the first public announcement of that. And I'm sure, I'm not even going to name the college because I've got too many friends there.
No. My dog just went past. So. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Thanks, David. Well, hold on and hang on here for a while. So, Steve.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. We met back in 88 in New York. But you met Brian long before then, because I came over in '87 actually, and I moved over in '88.
I had to jot down a few notes, these time frames. I figured I met Brian either in late 1980 or in early 1981. We were both working at a department store called Orbach's, right in Midtown Manhattan, right across the street from the Empire State Building. And he happened to, at that time, be working in the junior apparel department. You know, Brian was always about fashion, as both of you guys know. And he actually was reporting to my girlfriend at the time, Donna Nichols. I later married her. And we soon became fast friends. We're like a trio of musketeers cruising around Manhattan, going to clubs, the Mud Clubs, Studio 54. I remember one particular night, there was a club called the Palladium, and we're dancing, and Brian might have been up on a speaker. We're having a fun time. Alcohol might have been involved. And I picked up a comb on the floor that I thought fell out of his pocket. He put it right in his hair. And it wasn't until like the next day, he's like, where did this comb come from? I'm like, I thought you dropped it on the floor of the club. So anyway, no, it was not his comb. Anyway, I realized very early on that Brian's true passion was music. And somewhere along the way, I had a very small apartment on 47th and Ninth, and I found an old upright piano on the street, and that was in my small apartment. And I think Brian may have had an electric keyboard at that time. That was about it. But he would come over and play. And just Don and I just loved just listening to him play. And I guess I carried a decent tune. And a couple of years later, he allowed me to sing his songs, although I was dodging the tomatoes while he was playing the keyboards. And we did have, I don't know, about 6 different hour-long venues throughout Manhattan. One of them was at a Sheraton Hotel right on Fancy Park Avenue. The last one was right on Restaurant Row, but just fond memories. And, you know, over the years, I realized that I had a lot of, and I've got photocopies, a lot of Brian's handwritings of a lot of his songs.
Could you read them? Because his handwriting was horrible.
No, it was mostly printed. His handwriting was great. What are you talking about? Yeah, it was great. It was awesome. And I was trying to look through and think about all the different songs. I probably had 5 songs that I've kind of narrowed down out of the hundreds that he wrote. And 2 were on the serious side, love songs, things like that. But I leaned toward the more humorous songs. And there were 3 songs. One was, what was that? Single and Free, which I found hysterical. And another song was called I Don't Mind, which really became known as the Biscuit song, because he wrote that song after I told him a story about my grandmother's biscuits. But by far and away, my favorite Brian Hobbs song is called Poor as Shit. Now, at the time when Brian wrote this song, he and I were both quite poor. And we decided we couldn't afford such a long title. So I believe legally, Brian registered that song as just Poe, P-O. And that is the song that stays alive most frequently, especially once again when alcohol is involved. Now, maybe there's a theme here. And that's the one that I remember most. It's the only song I can remember the lyrics on when I've had a few. And it became even more special when I believe it was 2003, when we visited Sweden as a family. We went to see the Team Hobbs, and Brian invited me into his studio along with my 2 boys, Zach and Jimmy, who were, I think, 11 and 8 at the time, and they sang background on Poor as Shit. And there's nothing so funny as hearing 2 young boys singing Poor as Shit, Poor as Shit. So I am so happy to be part of this. And David, hearing your stories, I couldn't agree with you more. Brian was such a loving man, and in all the years I knew him, I never knew of any type of argument. The only time I think he even raised his voice at me when it became very clear and frustrating that I did not know how to sing harmony. We went into a studio once, and he got me in to be able to sing background on a song called Fly's Eyes and Wine Talking, and I just couldn't sing harmony. We tried to sing some Crosby, Stills, and Nash song, which you've already said wasn't his forte to play somebody else's songs, but I could only sing the melody. He just couldn't understand how I could be so ridiculously poor at singing, but an amazing man. Loved him, miss him, and just loved his humor, the life, and long live the love and music of Brian Hobbs.
Yeah.
Hobbs!
Hobbs, yeah. Oh, what a couple of classics. Poor shit. Unfortunately, that has never been recorded officially, I hope. But the, oh no. But the other one, the biscuit in a can, I mean, that one is in one of the albums. Are you kidding me?
It's a little Hobbs music in the background. Down in Mobile in 1944. Woo! Do it, Brian.
Do it, Steve.
I was born down in Mobile, Alabama, back in 1944. I love this song. My family was so poor, it had no house attached to our door. My family was so poor. So it has been recorded, my friend.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And it still lives on.
Thank you for that. It's been a while since I heard it. You know what? I told my kids like long time ago when they were little, and I said, oh, I used to live with Johnny Mercer. And they're like, who's Johnny Mercer? What famous lyricist and all that. And it's like, what? I thought you lived with Daddy. You remember those 6 months with Johnny Mercer? I do.
I do indeed. And I remember us having that little recording, whatever we did.
Yes.
Song director Brian Hobbs, Roseanne and I. Yes, indeed.
I love that. And why I said that is because, you know, we had moved into a bigger place where we could actually, you know, in New York, where we could actually have a piano. And I think the rehearsal was like for 6 months or something like that. And I think I learned all the lyrics to all the songs that you did. And you were so good. I mean, it was amazing. And it was a couple of shows, right, that you did up on Upper West Side, was it?
Well, I know we did the one on Restaurant Row, and then there was one up on the West Side. I forget the name of that place. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah, that's so much fun. God, those were the days, kids.
Ah, yes, those were the days. Many moons ago, my friend.
Yeah, that's so funny. Oh, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for singing. I love that.
Love you.
Love you too. So that was like, so we've heard a little bit about Brian growing up born in North Carolina, Elizabeth City, and where he went, you know, was in the band, and was he like the best trombone player in his age group? I think that's what he told me anyway.
Yes, he was. He did very well at the All-State band tryouts. He never practiced much. Just a little bit right before the big audition would happen. I don't think practicing I think he was allergic to it. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. He was allergic to a lot of things.
Well, I remember in the trombone section, real quick, he would always play with rather uncharacteristic tone right before the big auditions and tryouts. So everybody else was hearing him kind of wimpily, you know, sounding, oh, we're going to beat Brian this time. And then he'd come out with this, you know, nice sound on the trombone and very articulate and musical. And they were like, what did that come from? You know? And so, I mean, Gene would know more about whether he actually practiced or not.
Yeah. We actually have the trombone here. I mean, you know.
Well, I remember him having an old Con, kind of a almost student line, you know, horn. It wasn't a great. It was kind of a thin brown case.
It's a thin brown case. It's right back here.
And everybody else had all this heavy artillery, great, you know, Bach trombones and, you know, huge stuff. And Brian would come in with this, you know, kind of thing you'd find at a pawn shop almost.
Yeah.
And play like Tommy Dorsey. It's like, it is really good.
Funny, thanks. Andreas.
Yes.
We met you when? Well, we moved to Sweden back in 92 because we left New York.
97. I will tell you actually about this. That was the theme of my because throughout the years, I have so many memories with Brian and a lot of stuff, but not everyone knows how it started. So I just wanted to share that. So basically, the first time I heard his name was at a concert here in Stockholm at Jazz Club Fasching. Was this guy, Stefan Gunnarsson, who played a lot of songs, and he kept talking about Brian Hobbs, who was his collaborator in writing these songs. They were good songs. I loved them. I was like, wow, this is cool. I just put that name back in my head, and just Brian Hobbs. That's cool. So all right, and a couple of months later, because I was in my 20s, young 20s, writing songs, trying to get by as a musician. So I recorded some demos back at my home on cassettes, white cassettes, back in the days, I sent them off to some publishing companies here, and I didn't really expect things to happen because, that's what I heard from people, that you send it stuff, but they don't listen. But anyway, the day after I sent the cassette, 2 companies called me, Sony and MCA Publishing. I was like, wow. I got the better vibe from MCA, because it was this guy, he liked my stuff, and he said, we should meet. So I met him at the MCA office, and he said, I have the perfect collaborator for you. His name is Brian Hobbs. And I was like, oh, Brian Hobbs. I remember that. I was excited, but also a little, wow, not scared, but nervous. But that was fun. So basically, he said, can I connect you guys? I said, yeah, sure. So he gave Brian my phone number. And I also remember the first time Brian called me, because I couldn't answer, because I had this sound check, and I couldn't, I had my own Nokia laying there, so I couldn't really answer, but he left a message. And it's so fun, because I don't know if you think about that, but sometime now it's different, because now we have Facebook, Google, and you can look people up, but I didn't know how it looked like. And from his voice, sometimes I do that. I just thought he was like, okay, he's this guy, this super, super thin guy with black jeans, a black shirt, long black hair, pale, musician kind of dude. But it turned out I was wrong.
Way wrong.
Yeah. So, but that was fun. And basically, we agreed to meet, and I came to your house in Enskede, Bjulevägen 40. And at that time, the studio was in the bedroom. So we went back there and we listened to some songs. We talked. And also we wrote the first song that's called I Don't Know. It's not recorded, but we wrote it, and it was good. And I remember he was very supportive, very supportive, and he wanted me to sing out. He said, you have a great voice, just sing out. So I tried to do that. And the second song we wrote, and this is fun because the second song we wrote was Christmas Every Day. And that ended up on the Home for Christmas album. Yeah. 17 years later.
Wow.
So that's kind of fun. And what I couldn't agree with you all more with you all, because he was so kind, generous. He saw. I'm just talking for myself. I know he did a lot of things for all of his students, but for me anyway, he saw something in me. He believed in me and pushed me in a good way, and he became a good friend, like a mentor, collaborator, and also kind of big brother. Mm-hmm. That it's I'll always cherish that. And I remember we had a lot of sessions back there, writing stuff, and also these funk nights.
Oh yeah.
Funk nights.
Oh yeah. I had to get out of the house. Funk nights.
Funk nights. The boys were there with their dinosaur, stuff, and but we listened to music, we laughed, joked around, and just had a good time. So fun.
Well, you did 3 albums together. Your first one?
4.
Was it, yeah, even the last one was also a collaboration? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
So it's the first one was This Is Life, then it's The Journey, then Home for Christmas, and then From Within.
From Within, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I would say, just to wrap it up, I mean, he also did this for his students, and he was fantastic with them. He, you know, he supported them, encouraged them to believe in themselves and their music, and and I really, you know, want to wrap up with saying this, that except for the friendship and all that stuff, he gave me something, you know, the greatest gift ever, and that's 4 words. He said, "I believe in you." And that changed everything for me, for a guy like me who had at that time major lack of confidence. So that meant everything. And that's one of the reasons I play and sing and write songs, and did that. So it's beautiful. So for that, thank you, Brian. You know, thank you, Fia, for this, you know, celebration of this fantastic book.
Of the fantastic book, yeah. And I just have to add, you have like one of the best voices ever. I mean, you know, when you sang that duet with Michael McDonald, who is a big idol for me and for Brian. I mean, that was a huge thing. When you guys sang that duet together, it's like, Andreas, you know, it's like,
you know, honestly, you know, a little short thing about that. We talked about, you know, we always talked about it's the journey and all of these things. And what is success? What is it? It's different. For some, it's might be money. For some, it might be fame. For me and for Brian, it was that moment with our hero, musical hero, that we wrote the song and he sang it together with me. And I'm not joking. That was the peak of my career. And I you know, I'll do other things as well, but that I was just fantastic. So we have nothing more to prove, really.
And I got actually a message from Michael McDonald after Brian died too. That was like, Oh my God, I could talk with you guys forever. Let's do this privately as well. We can.
Anytime.
Anybody want to add something before I'm going to let you go? Because I mean, God, how am I gonna, you know, follow this up? Thank you, David.
You're welcome. Thank you
for being there. And you are in North Carolina still, in Raleigh.
Live from Raleigh, North Carolina.
That's right. And just tell, I mean, you're a drummer. You are an excellent drummer.
I still play, you know, not at the moment, of course, nobody's playing anywhere around here, but I teach, you know, via Zoom and Skype and all that kind of stuff. So I'm still active.
Still
retired,
active.
but retired, but active.
That's a good one. So thank you, David. And thank you, Steve. I was supposed to have been down there this summer to see you guys. I can't wait.
We're ready for you.
Yeah, I know. But you know, as soon as this travel restriction is off, I'll be there. Great. I'll take my 2 kiddos with me.
Please do. You need bodyguards.
I do, huh?
Yes.
Give my love to Donna.
Will do.
Yeah, and you too, David. Give my love to Margaret and Andreas. Thank you so much for being on here and for being, you know, you guys were so good together.
Yeah.
You really brought the best, you know, out of each other. So it was a good combo. I mean, the guy knew what he was talking about. So
yeah, certainly.
All right, cool. Thank you. Well, I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to continue here for a little while longer. So, you know, bye, guys. And thank you for...
Take care, gentlemen.
Good to see everybody.
Bye.
Take care now.
Bye.
So I'm going to continue here on my own. And we are going to, let's see here. Let me help you a little bit there and there. Let's see here.
All right, I'm leaving. Love you.
Yeah, Bye. Bye. Talk to you later. I don't know, those stories. I mean, God, look at me. I've laughed and laughed and laughed. So much fun. And I mean, that's what it really is all about, for me at least, you know, celebrate the fun. I mean, it's tragic. People die. You know, we can't do anything about that, but we can celebrate and remember and really, you know, be grateful and thankful for what we have. So how am I going to top this? I don't know. I had a plan. We'll see. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to those guys, and also to all of you looking. This book is out today, physically in stores, if there are any bookstores open, but there are. So it's out in bookstores. You can get it online. I'll put a link out for you right below here in a while. And I would be so happy if you wanna buy this book, if you could do that like within like today, tomorrow, or within a week. Because what I found out is that if you want to get on any kind of a list or something like that, you have to be like a bestseller in a certain area, but it's like only within that 1 week after it's been released. So if you want to do me a favor and get this book up on any type of list, I'd be so happy. Steve told me before, he said, oh, I'm buying a bunch of them and giving them away. So thank you, Steve, for doing that. Thank you so much. So yeah, that's the book. And what I did also in January, actually, where I was done with this book last year, but you know, it takes a while to get things out there, to be published and so on. I did write a support workbook, because I had people asking me. They said, so could you just, I mean, this is a really good book, but could you like narrow it down and really put it together? And I did. And that is something I gave away for free. You know, it's like a free support book. And I will put a link on the page here as well for that, so you can find it. It has almost the same cover, but it says support workbook instead. And you just download it from a link that I have. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say like that. So please, if you can, support me, buy the book. There's been a lot of work going into it, as for all writers, you know, and then on top of it, not being able to have a proper release party, a proper book tour, speaking gigs and all that. And talking about that, I do have one fun story. I was supposed to have gone this summer to New York, to going to Raleigh, going to Elizabeth City, going to the Outer Banks to speak, going to Nashville, invited into Nashville, never been there. And I was going to do the red carpet thing, you know, my 10 minutes in the spotlight, being interviewed by my publisher, Morgan James Publishing. Thank you, Morgan James Publishing. and of course, you know, we're going to be interviewed. It's a big thing. They do this for the new writers and so on. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to Nashville. I'm going to be on the red carpet. I'm going to, you know, well, that's not going to happen, is it? So, but I will be interviewed, but it won't be, it'll be like this, you know, online over Zoom on Friday at 4 p.m. Swedish time. So if you look out for that, I'll put a link to it. I'm sure I'll get it recorded and all that as well. So you'll hear some more then. Yes, what else? This morning I did a video. I wanted to play a song for you. I wanted actually to end today with playing that song. It's a song that has not been published. It's by Brian Hobbs and Erika Iljero. Hi, Erika. And they wrote it a long time ago. And then while Brian was sick, she recorded it a cappella and put like beautiful, just beach, you know, waves in the background, and sent it to us. And it was just like the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. So I still just have it like on a little file here on the computer, and I was going to play it for you. And then I thought, you know, why don't I just make a video? So 10 o'clock this morning, I decided, oh, I'm going to make a video of it. And I was done right before, like around 11:45. So that's a fresh video. But so I will put that again. I've already linked it today earlier, but I will put it again after I'm done here. But what I will do now is to show you a video that was recorded by a lot of different people, Brian's friends and singers on an album. He actually did an album called Reflections. You know, what are the odds? So the album's called Reflection. And by this time he was ill. This was in 2017. It was in the fall. And he was ill already, you know, really the cancer had really taken him a lot of his energy. And so with all the energy from all these people, Andreas is one of them who's on the album, and Dea and Charlotte and Jonas and Leif and Johan. I mean, they're all there, Tom and Nina, and you know, it's like it was so beautiful. And they put this all together, and it came out in the fall of 2017, and it's called Reflections. And I've been playing it actually in this during the month of May. So if you go back on this Facebook page, you will find it. And I can put a link to it as well. So I asked them, I said, I have an idea. I'm doing something special. I want to do something special for the release. Would you mind if I pick a text from this book? Would you mind reading it? And I'll put it together in a video. And all of them said yes. So that's what I did. That's what I did. And so I want to play, and it has not been shown before, so it's all new. And so I'm going to play that for you soon. And then after that, I want to put up another link that you can see, and that was Monica, because both Monica and Mia is on the album too. Monica Silverstrand. She made such a nice video, like a tribute to Brian after he died. And it's very personal, you know, personal pictures and all that stuff, but it is so beautiful. And it's a song that he wrote. It's called Make Me Feel Young Again. So I wanted to post that too. So you're going to get to see 2 videos after I'm done here. And after that, I might just pop in again and see how you all are, check out and see if there are any comments, if anybody's watching. And you know, if you have any questions, I'll try to answer that. So does that sound like a plan? Because I think I am right on the mark here. Yes. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the webinar as well, the free talk, but I can post a link on that. I'll do that. This was just so great hearing these guys talk. Brought back a lot of memories. So what I'm going to do now is I will sign out from here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being on here. And I hope that I'll be able to save this so that I can, so if you're not able to, you know, to have seen it now, maybe you watch it later on. That'd be great. So check out 2 videos coming up, the one with all the singers and songwriters reading the texts. And then afterwards, you'll get to see the tribute that Monica did. And then again, I might just put the 3rd video up again, the one that's called Something Along the Way with Erika singing. Such a beautiful one. Thank you so much. And as I said, Reflection is out. If you wonder what all this is, I was doing a talk, and I just wanted to put like a little sticker where it was like an interesting quote, and you can see what it looks like. You know, there's like quotes all the way. So there are a lot of beautiful texts, lyrics in this book. It's all Brian, and then, you know, I wrote as well. But you know, I was just like reflecting back to what he was talking about, really, and what he was experiencing and what I was experiencing as a caregiver. So with that, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I have not been able to see any comments so far, so I'm going to go and look right now, and hope to see you all very soon, and especially on June 1st, when I will do a free talk about the book. So I will share that link as well. Okay, good. I will see you later, I hope. Have a good day. Bye.